Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. Corey Palm, Tanner Lipset, head coach Tony Ersland joining us. And coach, it's a little bit like Christmas week for wrestling coaches around the country. I know you look forward to this week for months and months, and you guys finally got the new season underway. First official practice earlier this week. Just what do we like? What are we liking a couple days in?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. You're right. You're excited because it's the official start of the season. We started this journey a long time ago, though, right? So it's just a continuation as far as, where we've been at this summer and the things we want to do. But absolutely, it's special that this is kind of, day one started this week, and now you're working towards that third weekend in March. But just nice that we're all in the room, and that competition is around the corner, right? More than anything, you're preparing all the time. As I just said, like the preparation never really stops. You can get home from nationals and you take a few days off, and then a lot of these guys are ready to get back at it. So while the preparation never stops, starting official practice means competition is around the corner. And that's probably really the exciting thing for these guys. So just knowing that, their hard work and preparation, which started back in the spring, really gets kicked off next month in November when competition starts.
So kind of taking something you said there, you talk about how it never stops, right? We're always preparing. We're always, we got some guys we got to pull off the mat. Like we got guys that, we have to make them take breaks, right? How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it so that these guys don't, that doesn't become robotic? It doesn't just become over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that's in your goals. Okay. So it's, the season ends and you're going to reassess your goals and you're going to start chasing new ones. Right. And then that approach changes. So I think that's part of it is right. Like no year is ever the same, right? You're a year older, your experiences, both good and bad, kind of changes your growth as a wrestler. And so I think the goals changes your perspective on how you're going to approach them and what training is going to be. I also think, we had another world championship happen here recently, again, right between Olympics and Worlds. There's the freestyle and the Greco aspect of it. And of course, for us, that's as big a part of the journey as anything. So kind of fresh perspectives and different approaches as you grow and develop through the sport kind of helps you stay focused on what you need to do. I think those are the two biggest things for me is goals change, who you are as people change. And then obviously maybe, and that's with recruiting too, which is, it's big for us now is that journey never stops, right? I mean, you come in as a freshman, but it can continue well after your post-grad years. So the journey doesn't stop until you leave your shoes in the center of the mat after your last match, right? It's just a continuous journey. So I think all of those help in how we kind of view and stay fresh and kind of try to get better in different ways.
Has there been any, like Corey said, we started Sunday officially, got into what they refer to as our 20-hour weeks. Has anything changed from a tone perspective that is tangible for you?
No, I don't try to change the tone a lot. I mean, honestly, you want to be consistent in how you coach and your message to the team, right? I think that consistency is what makes or breaks you. You can't live one way and then change, because you're in season. Now, from a discipline standpoint, no doubt, I mentioned competing, which means making weight is going to come up. So yes, those guys from that stance in their lifestyle has to be more disciplined, right? Like you've got to really be dialed in on your nutrition on a day-to-day basis and really think about those things proactively. So that part changes. I guess from my tone, you want to be consistent in your message and your approach. And I try to be.
Obviously we only have a few to choose from. Has there been anyone or anything that has stood out over the first few days?
Well, I mean, so we had 3 weeks of what I call planned fatigue, right? Like we were in our small groups. That was 3 weeks in September. We divide the guys up into groups of 10 and they rotate coaches for the week. And it really, it's about team building, but also kind of building that mental toughness by the different things you have to do conditioning wise. You don't always know what it's going to be. One coach is going to have you do something one week and you're with a new coach the next week and it's completely different. So those 3 weeks of plan fatigue were very tough, especially on the young guys who have done it for the first time, right? So I guess when I look at the first few days here, and we're just still in the middle of the first week, I do like what I'm seeing from the freshmen. They've had some very good workouts and they've made some good strides in terms of getting from them in their workouts. So that's part that stood out for me. We've got our old standbys. We got those guys in our room that are leaders, that are workhorses, and they've looked great. But the freshmen, I'll kind of give them a plug here because they've stepped it up, I would say, these first few days of workouts in our regular season.
We've definitely talked at length about this new group of Boilermakers and how happy we are with them as a group. They're on it, and they I hope that they continue to follow this path as they get into their first year. And some will compete in the varsity lineup, some of them will go the red shirt path and hit some open tournaments and stuff. But really anxious to see where they all end up, because they're such a unique group in so many different ways, from the way that they were recruited to the way they wound up on campus to what they've all done done since they've been here. So very anxious to see what that group has in store for us.
Yeah. And they're good talent wise. So often we are talking about in the room, right? And that's their talent and their tough, which I really, right, we value. We recruited them because of their talent and the wrestlers that they are, competitors that they are. But the other part I'm excited about, I'll give a quick nod. Our upperclassmen say that they seem to be a great fit for this team too, about how they've kind of gelled with what the goals are and the approach is. So that's obviously, we talk a lot about culture too. That's been great to see. So it's not just been the talent and the work ethic and how they're approaching getting better, which has me excited. But I love hearing from the upperclassmen that they are really fitting in well and gelling with the team.
Not to put you on this, well, yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. So I'm doing this on purpose. I'm not going to say that I'm not. Do you have a reason to point to as to why maybe this group is gelling more so than in the past, or whatnot? Is there something you can put your finger on that kind of looks at why they're a good fit, or are there circumstances, do you think, that's led to this quick gelling?
I mean, I wish I could tell you we were just that smart, you know what I mean? But
I kind of offered that up there as a chance to pat yourself on the
back. Right.
I was kind of wondering what you would do with it.
The fact of the matter is, and we've talked about this before too, so I'm sorry for repeating myself, but you try to find guys who value the same things that you do, right? Like, you look at the talent and the work ethic and the passion for the sport, those are all things that we try to really get a feel for in the recruiting process. And you got to make sure that they want those same things. And it appears that's the case for this group, that we're all on the same page from the start. And yes, there's some growing pains and struggles as far as, the work that's required, and kind of the pain or the suffering that comes with that work, right? There's growing pains for young men there, but I think they're all on the same page with what the team's goals are and what they want for themselves. And it's been a good fit. Obviously, it's something you try to do, but you don't always get it right. Let's just face it. It doesn't always work out the way you want it to. And that's why we try as best we can to get to know these guys, have them and their families get to know our program and what we're about, so that we do, kind of, when the tough times come, eliminate, some of the uncertainty or the transition problems, I guess.
I find it incredibly interesting from the standpoint of, we talk a lot about recruiting and we talk about fit and we talk about, getting the guys on campus and having them meet the team and be around the team. And this last class didn't get to, for the most part, with the exception of, Ben Venati and Dustin Norris, who verbaled to us very early, very young. The rest of this group was mostly recruited and talked to, virtually. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that process was done differently. So I find the situation that we pleasantly find ourselves in to be really interesting, to kind of look at how we did it and how this all came to be, because obviously we'd love to say this about our freshman class every year.
Yeah, no, it's, and that's worth looking at. I mean, while I value the personal interactions with people so much, and it gives you a great feel, I would guess that with all of these Zoom calls and presentations and time spent there that were significant, that we did a good job of finding young men again who fit really well, but that's a credit to them too. You think of Stony Buell and Hayden Filipovich, Tristan Ruhlman, and those guys like that fit really well, and has me excited because it could have been a coin flip. It could have been a situation, boy, where you come in and they're like, this is not matching up at all with what I expected, and it's problematic. And so far, that's not been the case. Like I said, solid group of guys, and we're off to a good start.
You mentioned the upperclassmen, so let's steer it that way a little bit. How are some of the upperclassmen doing with this first week of practice and getting back on the horse? Especially guys like Devin Schroder and Max Lyon, who are doing it for the last time perhaps, and the fifth or sixth time.
Yeah, it's interesting. This comes to where, I think coaching's important and understanding your guys, because not everybody's going to be the same. Talk about a Devin Schroder who's in year 6, and how we treat him or handle him is going to be a bit different than maybe a young guy. You know what I mean? With him and his training and getting him peaked and ready for the end of the year, to where that's when, these guys accomplish their biggest goals, is going to, maybe a day off here or a day off there, or, instead of going live, we're going to be working technique, with another coach individually, over at the end of the room or something. So I think, for me, it's just looking at each kid and what do they need. We've got some young men that they need to get into the expectations of the program, and you're trying to teach those guys. But a guy like Devin, I'll just use him. He's not the only one, right? He's not the only guy, but he's a good example. You've got to really kind of get a feel for that day and what they need, so that you're getting the most out of them and they're getting ready, for that end of the year in March.
Anything else about how things are going in regards to
I got something I want to jump in on. Coach, I'm always fascinated by the evolution of coaches. You talk about how guys are different. It's another year. You're another year older. You're another year more experienced. Well, that's all true of you as well. How are you different this year? What have you learned in the last 12 months, as chaotic as it was, that has made you different or better?
Yeah, no doubt. I think with this group, knowing that we, by and large, obviously we've got a lot of young guys, no doubt, but it's an older group that I know what they're about, and I trust, what they're doing and what their goals are. And so, you try to maybe sit back and watch and listen and be there for them. It's not as much being in their ear all the time. It's sometimes it's just sitting back and watching, and then seeing what they need and taking it from there. So for me, it's not as being as proactive with them. It's just making sure that, hey, they're confident and they have every chance to be ready. I mean, we know what they need to do. They know what they need to do. They're grabbing the ball and running with it, right? Like they're accountable to their wrestling. Where, let's say a younger guy, they've first year, they're trying to figure out college wrestling. So again, how you're approaching that young man and mentoring him and working with that guy is different than a guy, again, like Schroder or maybe Max. So for me, it's just about, hey, sometimes less is more, I don't want to overcoach these guys. Right. I just want to make sure that they're staying fresh and they're staying motivated, and they got what they need in terms of training and technique and mentality. So I guess that might be where, it's more intentional for me sometimes to sit back and just watch and learn and make sure, again, that you're not, overcoaching these guys in that situation. Letting them figure stuff out, play with stuff. When they have questions, hey, we're there for them. We're pushing them. When they need a kick in the pants, I'll be there for a kick in the pants. When they need a pat on the back, I'll be there for that too. but I guess maybe the best word is I don't want to overcoach these older guys who look to be very motivated and accountable to their wrestling.
Cool.
Corey, are you satiated?
Yeah, that'll do.
Transition a little bit from practice to competition. I found it crazy that last week I got asked for the first plane manifest and hotel roster and whatnot that's going to be needed for our first road trip to Philadelphia here in 4 weeks ish. 3. Good Lord.
A little over 3.
But before we head to Philadelphia, we will host our annual wrestle-offs. Friday, October 29th, 7 p.m., Holloway Gymnasium. We're going to open them up to the public this year. We're going to pull out the bleachers, have a little simulation of a duel from a variety of standpoints. Guys going to be down to weight for the first time. What goes into putting the wrestle-offs together, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, it's still going to be a work in progress, right? Because we've got 3 weeks of training and all of that, and we're going to evaluate these kids, daily. I tell the guys all the time, you get evaluated daily here, and you just got to get used. And so it's just seeing, how things are going to shake out about, where guys are in relation to their weight classes and where we really need to see more, right? Like there's some weights where we have really veteran guys that almost have spots locked down, right? And we've got some weights where, we might have 4 guys and we're really trying to get a feel for who's going to rise, to the front of this group and be the man, right? So it kind of goes to how we view coaching too, where it's a little different based on where they're at in their career and their training and expectations. So, I know it's a very bland general answer, but it'll be sifting through that because truly it is. Some guys have spots locked down, very much so, and some are up for grabs, and we're waiting to see who's going to kind of rise to the top there. And it's about creating those situations where you can see who really is the guy.
Corey, this is more of a question for you. Although I'm curious to hear Ersland's take on this as well. I find the concept, not being the wrestling guy, the concept of wrestle-offs is fascinating to me. And I know that they are not the end-all be-all for Tony per se. He takes a lot of other factors in as opposed to just wrestle-offs. But I don't know that there's another sport where 2 individuals will compete head-to-head literally, not like who practices better or who, does better. No, Corey, you and I are going to wrestle and whoever wins gets to start. That's the concept. It's not, it's like, it would be like in basketball if 2 guys played one-on-one for a starting job.
And even more so really, because it's not just you get to start, it's you get to play. That's it.
Right.
If I pick the wrong point guard, I can make a change in the second quarter. Not so much in this instance. It has to be, okay, this is your spot for this entire day, this entire weekend, this entire tournament. And
it's not like a minute in the match. Tony can call a timeout and send the sub in.
Bring it in.
So
no, I made a mistake here, guys. I need to sub in a new wrestler. Here we go. Tag out.
Yep. Well, and I think that's why I hold 2 prongs here, and you mentioned one of them. So, but I'll bring it up because I think this is always good, so people understand what we're looking at. Is the wrestle off is just a piece of the puzzle. You find that teammates understand. They wrestle with them a lot, right? Mm-hmm. You understand how to keep things close and how to make it competitive. Okay. So that's why I'm not always just basing it on a wrestle off. It might be a 1-point match, and you've kind of got by and squeaked through. What we truly look for is the best competitor. And that means when it counts, right? We're out there with an official, the guy who's going to compete the best and give us the best chance to win too. So we really do. We look at opens. We may try to, especially early on, you put different guys in the dual meets and situations and see how they're going to do, because it might be, hey, you won the wrestle off, but now you're not quite competing up to your ability for whatever reason, you know what I mean? And that's part of the evaluation as well. So yes, it's unique in that you're competing, in a wrestle off to be the guy and nail down a spot. but I think we all understand, and it's good for people to know that, hey, that's only a piece of the evaluation here for the guys who are in the lineup.
Corey, is there another sport that's like that I'm not thinking of? Because I can't come up
with. No.
Yeah.
No.
Because it's not like, track and field, you can run multiple people in the same race.
Right.
You can, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of different scenarios where you can make substitutions or enter multiple people.
Yeah, I can't come up with a team sport. Maybe one of our viewers has it, and we'll throw it in the comments. If you do,
I'd love to hear
bring that up next time with full credit, because there's a lot of individual sports, but when you throw the team concept, I can't come up with it. The other thing that's awesome is you can challenge throughout the year. Like, okay, I lost in October, but I got better, so I'm going to challenge again. In December, I still want that spot. That's freaking awesome.
Yep. Well, and you want that, right? Like you want everybody in your room working to be the guy, and not just the guy, to be the national champ, to be the world champ, to be, whatever, because, then they're always trying to get better, and it's true that it's interesting because, late in the year, roles are going to be more defined. Like you want everybody trying to win that national title or be the guy, essentially until the day you leave for nationals. And now that opportunity is gone, right? Like truly that's what it needs to be for your own personal development. So the next year you'll get your best chance, to be the man, or jump in there if a guy gets hurt. We've had guys get hurt before we're going on a trip, and now, hey, we need you. And so you can't have guys, taking a back seat or taking their foot off the gas in terms of trying to get better and push. That truly is something that you have to balance, where you're not the guy right now. Tomorrow you might be. So train today like tomorrow you're the man. And keeping that in mind and making guys understand that can be hard, especially late in the year when they've not been the guy for a good part of the season.
My favorite wrestle-off story from my time at Purdue, I believe it was my second year. We had a returning national qualifier at 165 by the name of Justin Fraga, who was from Florida. And we had another young man who was a redshirt freshman from California by the name of Luke Manuel. And when you talk about wrestle-offs, for some reason, Fraga had Luke's number. Luke Manuel could not get past him. So every weekend, Fraga would go to the varsity to duels, and he had a solid year. Not great, not awful. And Luke was packing up and going to every open tournament he could find. I want to say he ended up wrestling like 45 matches that season, something crazy. And came down to it. And the week before Big Tens, Justin Fraga got hurt. And so Luke got the start at 165 at Big Tens. After not being in the varsity lineup all year, took third, went to nationals, won a few matches at nationals, and ended up being one of the winningest wrestlers in program history. Won well over 100 matches at 165 and 174, and beat a lot of good people. So it was a crazy. You talk about the room familiarity, and for whatever reason it was. Luke Manuel was beating everybody else in the country, but couldn't beat the guy in his own room.
Yep. And that can be the case sometimes. That's why it has to only be part of the puzzle as you evaluate and put your lineups together.
For sure. An interesting segue with speaking of some alumni. For those that don't know, for our alums, we're hosting a JPC Zoom call tonight. The information has been sent out into your email. Coach Ersland and myself will be on there, some of the staff, some of the guys on the team. And we're looking forward to a chance to visit with those guys and talk about the upcoming year and what's going on with the program.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun as we lead in. And as you mentioned, we've got people in the stands for wrestle-offs and dual meets. So it'll be good to circle back with these people and know we might actually get to see them in the duels and wrestle-offs here in the near future as well.
Absolutely. Change gears a little bit, Coach. Fun opportunity this weekend. We're hosting a camp for high school aged young men and women for Super 32 this weekend. A little final tune up before some of these kids head east to compete in one of the best tournaments in the country.
Yeah. Yep. We've named it Super 32, fall training camp, and we kept it small, right? Around 30 people. So it'll be great instruction and hands-on work with these young people who are coming to campus, and we have some outstanding talent that will be in that room. So we're excited to see that and get a chance to work with potentially some future Boilermakers and lots of outstanding talent.
Super 32 is going to be, by all accounts, incredible this year. We're just over a week out from that event. Willie Saylor's done a ton of, he's put up a lot of articles with what the field is supposed to look like. And I believe his number was 60% of the nationally ranked high school wrestlers in the country are projected to be in attendance.
I believe that's right. I mean, I know he put out a list of each ranked kid at the weight and tallied it at the end. And like I said, I believe you're correct in saying it was like 60% of the ranked individuals are there. Very deep, very tough.
One weight, I can't remember which one it is at this time. I believe it's somewhere in the 120s to 130s range. 22 of the 25 ranked kids in the country will be in attendance at that weight. What is it? I mean, how much does, as a coach, when you're looking at results like this, and obviously you don't ever want to get fixated on one event when you're looking at kids, but I mean, this is the closest thing to what NCAA championships turn into, right? At the high school level?
Sure. I mean, it's a folk style tournament, right? I mean, you have Fargo, which is similar in depth, in huge numbers and what the brackets look like. And this is just, again, it's one of those tournaments, and it is folk style. So maybe a little more similar to collegiate rules. Either way, it's good kids banging heads with each other over the course of a couple days. And that gives you a good indicator of who they are as competitors and kind of where their skill sets are at now. You know what I mean? And it's not just about winning. I love the response where sometimes you see a kid get upset early and then he's got to battle all the way back through. And what's that look like for him? Did he embrace it? Was he hanging his head? Did he get beat twice, right? Like he's down and out from getting upset, and then he walked out not ready to go and got beat again. Like those are things that y'all love to see, is how kids respond to that adversity and those tough matches. And it's a ton of matches. If you get caught on the backside early, because it is, a big tournament in terms of what the bracket size is going to be.
Fun to hear you bring up, like you said, not just winning the tournament or, how much of the extra stuff comes into play when you guys go recruit at some of these tournaments, their demeanor before and after matches, the way they respond to their coaches, the way that they, like you said, the way they bounce back from losses. How much does all of that play into it? Or how much time do you spend looking at stuff like that?
It comes up a lot in the recruiting, right? I mean, you're not always going to understand, like you're going to see how they respond to maybe a bad call on the mat or getting upset or whatever the situations happen during a tournament. But, that's why you do the home visits and those things too, though, because you get a chance to really talk to kids about, when you're making weight, what's that look like for you? What's your process look like? How disciplined are you leading up to? Like, you really get a sense of what their preparation is. And that's something that I'm really interested in, because we work very hard on having a plan for preparation, how we're going to make weight, how we're going to warm up, how we're going to get ready to really compete at a high level. That's all part of the things we can control. And so, again, you're trying to get that from the guys as you're recruiting them. And then you'll get to see the skill sets and how they respond to all the different things that happen in a great tournament like that.
Absolutely. Anything else on Super 32 or camp from you, Corey?
No, I think it's awesome. This is the first time you've done one of these, right? This is something new.
Yeah. Tony, we haven't done anything like this.
Oh, I guess in terms of our camp. Yeah.
In terms of the camp.
Yeah. You always try to, it won't be the first time we've had a clinic in the fall, but
sure.
It's nice. Week before Super 32, the date worked out, kind of having some good kids be able to come down, and a lot of young talent too. I mean, obviously we can't mention names, but you have a lot of juniors and seniors that are undergoing recruiting as well. So it's a good mix of different age ranges in also.
That's good.
For sure. I guess last thing from me, in addition to being Super 32 in a little over a week and a half, we also are going to welcome the families of all our wrestlers here on campus for a nice little weekend in conjunction with football's game against Wisconsin. Based on the RSVPs, it looks like most of the team's parents will be in attendance. And it should be a great opportunity to visit with everybody before we wind this thing up and get going.
No, absolutely. I look forward to it. Again, we go back to what last year was. We couldn't do these things. We couldn't get together, have these gatherings. So it'll be nice to see parents that we have not, quite frankly, some of them seen in a while. So that'll be a lot of fun. Let's hope the weather cooperates, right? We get a nice sunny day. Great football game with Wisconsin, I believe. So should be a lot of fun. Knock on wood, we don't get rained out or have bad weather. Regardless, it's going to be great to see everybody.
Absolutely. Sold out football game against Wisconsin. We announced that, 2 weeks ago, Corey?
Yep.
So Ross H should be rocking once again. But a lot of people have gone into the planning for this tailgate and gathering, specifically Stephen Karn for helping us out with the tailgate area and getting us some good parking for that. Our good friends over at Gridiron Metal Works, who are going to come and do the cooking for us for our tailgate, so we can spend time with everyone, and so we'll hopefully have a nice spread together for everybody to enjoy that. But really looking forward to having everybody here and doing that.
Yeah, and that's going to wrap up. That'll be kind of right. It's interesting. You think about everything we've got going on. We've got the camp this weekend. We've got parents weekend, plus practice that following weekend, wrestle offs after that. And then, boy, we hit it for real November 6th.
Yep.
With the schedule. So
wheels up to Philly.
Yeah, we're busy, and it's great to be busy. It's exciting. It's fun. And we look forward to everything coming down the road.
Absolutely. Corey, you got anything else for us this week?
No, man, I think we're good. We're clocking in right where we want to be. And my checklist is all checked out. So that's exactly what you want, right?
Thorough. Everything.
Thorough.
It's about to get super busy, but it's going to be a lot of fun too. Enjoy the next couple weeks, boys, and we'll catch y'all down the road. Boiler up.